I think it would be fair to say golf is a tough enough sport without ruining your round before you've even gotten started. So let's head out to Madeira. I'm going to show you some of the most common pre-round mistakes that I see and how to fix them. Okay, so the first part of poor preparation for golf is a particular bugbear of mine. As a gear writer, someone who deals with equipment all the time, preparing your equipment badly is the cardinal sin for me. Now, first up on that would be just not cleaning your clubs. Having your grooves full of mud will affect not only your spin and your launch conditions, but it'll have an effect on your distance and consistency. So make sure you turn up with clean clubs, and at very least have a towel so you can do it at the course. And second equipment error I see all the time when playing amateurs is turning up with not enough equipment. And the equipment I'm talking about here is things like tees, pencils, pitch mark repairers, balls, and even a nice fresh glove. You see a lot of people turning up with gloves that very much look like they're on their last legs with big holes all over them. So at least get a fresh glove so you feel good starting the round. And finally, the final thing I see in equipment all the time is people turning up with low batteries on their lasers. The amount of times I see someone on the 15th or 16th hole clicking away, desperately trying to get a yardage, but their battery's gone, make sure you've got a spare one in the bag. And if you're a GPS guy, make sure that GPS is charged up before you play. Okay, so another mistake I see in preparation happens exactly now. We've come to the driving range, we're going to loosen up to hit some balls, but I see people just put their balls down, grab a club and start hitting away. Now, not only is that going to affect your performance, your body's not ready to move in that way. You've got a real danger of injury there. You're coming out cold, your muscles aren't ready to make the twisting motion that's involved in golf. So it's important to do a few little stretches, dynamic stretches as well, just to get your body moving and ready to do what is quite a complex movement. Now, I'm not going to bother showing you any stretches here because I'm not a professional, so I'd recommend doing some research online, even watching a YouTube of Miguel Angel Jimenez's warm-up, something like that, or consult a professional and have a proper physical screening to see what you need to warm up specifically. But it's absolutely critical for injury and performance to make sure you do some stretches before you start hitting shots. Okay, so another bit of poor preparation that I see a lot comes on the putting green. If people visit the putting green at all, I often see mindlessly hitting mid-range putts and not really getting the information they need. So in terms of putting warm-up for me, I like to split it into two categories. Number one, I want to start building some confidence. I want to see that ball go in. And if you're just hitting 15 and 20 foot putts at various targets, you're getting a little something from it, but you're not going to see the ball go in an awful lot, and we want to build that confidence. So I like to set up a little drill. I use my putter, put that in the hole, grab a little tee peg, and that measures me at about 3 feet. Then I'll just simply spend some time hitting some putts from that 3 foot range and just knocking them towards the hole, seeing the ball go in and building confidence from there. The more you see that ball go in, the more you're hearing that sound, you're feeding your computer with good vibes, and that's great for your confidence during the day. Second part of this, again, I'm not gonna use a hole for this bit. I wanna start feeding my computer and my brain with some knowledge of the pace of these greens. So I take my 3 balls, I find a long putt, and I just aim for the fringe. It can be from 40 feet, 50 feet, 60 feet, but I'm just gonna keep repeating and trying to get the ball stopping just on the fringe line and take it from there. Just pretty much on the fringe cut. Pretty good, so probably just run into the fringe cut a little bit there, so now I know I need to take a little bit off. That's just more gently approaching the fringe, a couple of inches short, but you get the idea. So I've got a really good idea of speed now. Now what I would do is turn around, go from that fringe to this fringe because it's a little bit more downhill, and I've got some really good information I can take with me for the day, and I'm better prepared to hold putts. So another big mistake I see about preparing for a round of golf is ignoring the short game. Those who do warm up at all tend to go and hit some longer shots and might chuck a couple of balls down on the putting green. But these shots, your pitches, your chip shots, they're the ones that require some real finesse, and ignoring warming up those kind of smaller muscles that control the real precision elements of your game, I think is fatal. So it's always, for me, important, if you've got the facilities, I mean, I've got a great chipping facility here at Santa Tercera, don't get me wrong, some people don't have that benefit. but you can always find a little area off the course, just a piece of grass, hit half a dozen chip shots, get the feeling of the ball on the club face, seeing some flights, seeing how far they're going over 20, 30 yards. It's really important to warm your feels up. So I would just come to the chipping green, I would just hit a few little pitches to various targets and just start to get a feel of how it's reacting on the green. If the green's good, go to that white one now. Hit some different length shots, vary the trajectory, get it rolling out a little bit more, and you can really start to refine your feel over these shots. So when you get out on the golf course, you're not going to have any big surprises of a chip shooting out of your hands because you've warmed up those refined muscles. Don't ignore the short game, get your scores lower. So another part of poor preparation that I see is a bit of a mental mistake. Those of us who are diligent enough to come to the driving range to warm up and hit some shots, I can often see a lot of panic taking place on driving range before the rounds. If you're hitting bad shots, that can often put people off. But what you've got to remember is this is not a practice session. This is a warm-up. And what does a warm-up mean? We want to warm our muscles up and get loose for the round of golf. So we're just going to simply hit a few shots away. And we're just observing what's coming out. And it's more of a physical exercise. We're not practicing certain shots. We've done our practice, or we should have done, before we arrive to warm up for that particular day. And if you hit a load of bad shots during practice, don't worry. Some of my best round of golf have come after a really bad warm-up. Sometimes it's handy, it can lower your expectations and you just go and play. Conversely, some of my worst round of golfs have come with a great warm-up. So in my experience, there's not a great correlation between the two. So if you're warming up, just warm up, don't practice. And if you're hitting some bad shots, don't panic. Okay, now be honest, how often have you been in this situation? You get round to the 13th, 14th, 15th hole, you're a bit hungry, and you reach into your bag and you've got no food. Or even worse, you're thirsty and you haven't got any water. It's not just your mood that's going to suffer, it's your thought process. We need to be fueled so we make good decisions, so your brain's working optimally. If you haven't got that food in your body, you haven't got that energy, your thought process will suffer and your scores will suffer over the last few holes. So number one, it's really important to be fueled before the round. I'm not talking a big, greasy, full English breakfast. Some good, healthy, slow-release carbohydrates will set you up well for a good round. But in terms of preparation for the round, make sure you've got plenty of water in your bags. Fruits, things like trail mix and nuts and beef jerky are really, really good sources of energy that will keep you hydrated, keep you fueled for the round, and keep that brain working well and make you finish your round strong. Prepare well. Okay, so there's a few things you can do to prevent poor performance and poor preparation from a strategy standpoint. Even if you're playing your home golf course that you think you know like the back of your hand, a lot of courses, the entrances, you might drive through some of the holes on the course. So it can be really useful to have a look around and take some information in, particularly pin positions. You can call upon that information later on in the round and that might help inform your decision around club selection. Another little tip I always like to use, particularly if I'm playing on a tree-lined golf course, it can be really difficult to pick out the wind because the trees can block it. So I like to find a course map. You can get these quite often on the back of the cards or on a stroke saver, and either get to a high point of the course, find out what the wind is doing, and then mark that direction on the course map. You can also use one of the weather apps to do that. It'll tell you the exact direction the wind is coming from. Get that prepared on your course planner or your card, and you can refer back to that using the orientation of the hole and the direction of the wind if you're stuck out on the course. And that can really help you save shots. It's part of avoiding poor preparation.